Holy smokes, everyone. Boy, do I have some news for you, and I've got some huge data that is ringing alarm bells, and this will prove to be the end of the middle class once and for all. We got so much data, information, news to cover in this video, so let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into it. Okay, so first things first is this, everyone. US consumer sentiment falls to fresh decade low on inflation fears. And this is exactly what we've been talking about on the channel, everyone. I've been saying that inflation is going to destroy people's purchasing power. They're going to become more frugal. They're not going to be able to afford to spend on discretionary items. All their money is going on the essentials right now of food, rent, and transportation. And also, like I've been warning about, this is going to hit companies' earnings, especially those that are very sensitive to discretionary spending. So I'll bring up a chart here. We can see here inflation is taking its toll. Consumer sentiment has fallen further in early February and has fallen to an 11-year low of 61.7. off of its high from 100 in 2020. And this is what consumers are feeling right now, and this is what consumers are warning about. Financial Times over the next 5 years were anticipated by nearly 2/3 of all consumers, representing the weakest long-term outlook in the past decade. And also what happens in the stock market is it has a wealth effect. When stocks go up, people feel wealthier, they're more likely to spend, but when stocks fall, people feel less wealthy and they're less likely to spend and tighten their books because they don't know if their retirement fund is going to go lower and lower. The report suggests the recent volatility in the stock market is also weighing on sentiment. The entire decline in confidence so far this month was among Americans with income of at least $100,000. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, everyone. Look at this. Look at this shocking poll. 7 in 10 Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And everyone, we all knew this was bad, and we all knew most Americans lived paycheck to paycheck, but it's getting worse and worse now. And what happened in 2020 and 2021 is people got a bit of relief from the stimulus checks. But now that the stimulus checks are over, people are starting to pile into huge amounts of debt, which I'll get into in a moment. But it's not only consumer sentiment that is falling, people's paychecks in real terms are falling. And this is a big reason behind it, everyone. So this, everyone, inflation has taken away all the wage gains for workers and then some. And it's so funny how central banks say, look, we need to print all this money so you can get a pay rise. Inflation is good because then that means your pay is going to go up. But what is always the case is inflation is much higher than people's wage increases. And even the official CPI data is 7.5%. Wage growth is around 6%, but we all know the real inflation rate is 15%, so it is more than double the pay rises people are getting. So what this is all leading to is the rise of not the middle class, but the rise of the working poor. People working maybe 2 jobs just to cover the bare essentials like food, rent, and transportation. Look what's happening with rent prices around the country, and they're saying in the CPI that rent costs are only up 4%, which is absolutely laughable. Look at this, everyone. Look at this. Rents are up 30% or more in some cities. And this proves how much of a lie the CPI data is, everyone. They say shelter costs are up 4%. Look, across the US, the average monthly rent are up more than 14%. And like I said before there, some cities are up even more than that, 30%. And I've heard some people say their rents are up 50% since 2020. And if that's not bad enough, food prices are surging to record highs. And if that wasn't enough pain for the middle class, this is now happening as well. Look at this, pain at the pump. Your medium-sized car costs you $12 more per tank than a year ago. And people, this is only going to get worse and worse, with Brent crude prices absolutely skyrocketing, with oil looking like it's going to go over $100 per barrel, with Europe in an energy crisis right now, with all the geopolitical issues with Russia and Ukraine, fuel prices are going to get much more expensive. But you're probably wondering, okay, well, what's your point? We already know that consumer sentiment is falling. We already know that Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. We already know that prices are skyrocketing. But now this is leading to something that is going to be absolutely catastrophic, and it's going to lead many people in the middle class to go down the path of financial ruin. Look at this, everyone. We just got the data for 2021, and I bet you it's much worse in 2022. Consumer debt has skyrocketed to a record of 15.6 trillion. This is absolutely insane, everyone. 15.6 trillion. This is almost the total of the US GDP of amount of debt consumers are in. And they're going to have to keep piling more and more on their credit cards as the costs keep rising higher and higher, and they don't have these stimulus checks to bail them out this time. Because look at this. Look at this. There's 2 reasons Americans just dove into credit card debt faster than they have in 22 years. So why is it, everyone? Well, like I've been talking about, inflation, rising costs of food and gas. And also, like I've been talking about, government aid money helped people pay off debt earlier in the pandemic. Now that's freeing up cash for other purchases, they say. But what I think nobody's talking about is lifestyle inflation. Many consumers got used to this stimulus payments and they got used to spending more and more than they normally would. So now that people are in those spending habits, they're now going to credit cards to fuel that higher lifestyle than they were living before these stimulus checks came out. But people, this couldn't have come at a worse time because people are piling into debt when interest rates are at zero. What do you think is going to happen to all these people's debt payments when interest rates go up by 2 or 3%? And you know what's funny? People are saying, no, it won't happen. It's impossible to happen. People, it can happen and it is going to happen because the Federal Reserve has no choice but to fight this inflation that is literally getting out of control. And if they don't, well, there's really no way out here. Either the middle class is going to get destroyed from rising interest rates and going to default on their debt, or they're going to get hit by surging inflation. And this is the consequences we're all going to pay now for our leaders kicking the can down the road for the past 40 years, thinking that the party can keep on going forever. But people, there is a time and season for everything. There's never bad times 100% of the time, and there's never good times 100% of the time. And people, I think there's no way out for the markets, for central banks out of this one. It is literally time to face the music, and it's going to be very tough times ahead. But I'm sure you, my viewers, you know this has been coming, so you've been preparing by paying off debt, create an emergency fund, buying items before they skyrocket in price, like having food storage, water storage, and other essential items in case of emergency. But everyone, that's just my thoughts and opinions of what's going on with this situation. What do you think? Let me know. Now, for all my loyal viewers and subscribers still watching, you're awesome. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.